You wake up. The morning light filters softly through the blinds, landing across the sheets like it has 1,000 times before. You stretch, feel the weight of the blanket, hear the distant hum of a car passing by. Everything feels grounded, ordinary, safe. You check your phone, maybe scroll for a moment, then pause. It's quiet, still, perfectly normal. But somewhere in that stillness, a strange question flickers across your mind. How do I know this is real? Not in the dreamy, movie-style sense of the word, but in a deeper, unsettling way. What if this world, this body, this life, none of it ever truly existed? What if all of it, from the smell of coffee to the sound of your heartbeat, was nothing more than a passing thought in the emptiness of space? It sounds absurd, it sounds impossible, and yet, within the strange, beautiful logic of physics, that question has a name: the Boltzmann brain. To understand where that idea comes from, we have to rewind more than a century. Back to a time when scientists were first uncovering the hidden rules that govern the universe. Among them was a man named Ludwig Boltzmann, a physicist with a restless mind. He was fascinated by the way things move from order to chaos, by the invisible force that seemed to nudge everything toward randomness. He called it entropy, the measure of disorder in a system. Entropy explains why a shattered glass won't rebuild itself, why your room gets messy unless you clean it, why stars burn out and fade. It's a law of nature that things fall apart. Over time, the universe tends toward disorder. And yet, when Boltzmann looked around, he saw the opposite: structure, beauty, patterns. A world full of complexity, stars arranged in galaxies, planets spinning in harmony, and conscious beings capable of asking why. If the universe always drifts toward chaos, he wondered, then why does it look so organized right now? Why does it seem so precisely arranged, almost fine-tuned for life? The answer he proposed would shake the foundations of how we think about existence. Boltzmann suggested that the universe might not be special at all. Maybe the order we see is just a cosmic coincidence, a brief flicker of structure in an otherwise chaotic eternity. Imagine an infinite ocean of randomness, where particles are constantly moving, colliding, rearranging themselves. Most of the time, it's just noise, pure disorder. But every so often, by the rarest chance, those particles line up in just the right way to create something structured. Maybe a molecule, maybe a star, maybe, if you wait long enough, a mind. Now pause and think about that. In an infinite universe, anything that can happen will eventually happen. That includes the spontaneous formation of a fully functional brain, complete with thoughts, emotions, and memories. Appearing out of nowhere, floating alone in the dark, and then vanishing back into chaos. A brain that believes it's alive. A brain that remembers a childhood it never had. A brain that thinks it's lying in bed right now, listening to this very idea. That's a Boltzmann brain. The horrifying beauty of this idea lies in how logical it is. If the universe is infinite and random, then over enough time, the odds of such a brain forming aren't zero. They're just small. But in infinity, even the smallest probabilities eventually happen. And here's the truly strange part. Statistically speaking, it would actually be far more likely for a single brain to randomly appear than for an entire universe like ours to form naturally through billions of years of evolution. It's simpler, it's easier, it's the path of least resistance. So if we trust the math, then most observers in the universe shouldn't be humans living on planets. They should be fleeting, lonely Boltzmann brains drifting through the void. And if that's true, then what does that say about us? How can you ever be sure you're not one of them? Think Think about it. You have memories, but memories can be fabricated. You feel sensations, but sensations could be electrical patterns inside an imagined nervous system. You see, smell, hear, and touch the world. But what if those signals don't come from outside at all? What if everything you experience, every piece of your reality, is just a simulation running in a mind that doesn't exist beyond this moment? The Boltzmann brain theory isn't meant to convince you that you're fake. It's meant to highlight a problem, a deep, unsettling flaw in how we understand the universe. Because if our scientific models predict that it's more likely for random, illusionary brains to appear than for real humans to evolve, then maybe those models are incomplete. Maybe they're missing something crucial about time, space, or consciousness itself. Boltzmann's idea forced scientists to face the uncomfortable question of what it means for a theory to make sense. A theory might be mathematically consistent, but if it leads to absurd outcomes, like predicting that most conscious beings are hallucinating brains in empty space, then something about it must be wrong. And that's where this thought experiment becomes valuable. It's not about proving we're illusions. It's about testing how far our logic can go before it collapses under its own weight. The Boltzmann brain is like a cosmic mirror reflecting the limits of human reason. It's a reminder that even our most precise equations might only describe a small part of something much stranger than we can imagine. Still, the question lingers. If consciousness can arise out of randomness, even for a second, what does that say about us? Are we just improbable arrangements of matter, temporarily awake in the void? Or is there something deeper, something that can't be reduced to physics or probability? Because there's something in you that resists the idea of being fake. Something that insists on being real. The quiet conviction that your thoughts, your love, your pain, your curiosity all mean something. That they're more than random data in a cosmic accident. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe the act of wondering about your own reality is what makes you real. A Boltzmann brain might have fake memories, but it wouldn't question them. It wouldn't stop to ask, what if none of this exists? Because that spark of awareness, that curiosity, is a kind of proof. The universe might simulate patterns of thought, but the experience of wonder feels uniquely alive. Still, it's fascinating to imagine. Somewhere, in the deep blackness between galaxies, a single brain might flicker into existence. It might dream an entire life in an instant. Imagine cities, oceans, laughter, sunlight. It might believe it's walking through a park, feeling the wind on its face, listening to the rhythm of its own heartbeat. And then, in less than a breath, it's gone. Dissolved back into the endless soup of chaos. No evidence it ever existed. No memory of the world it dreamed. When you think about it that way, being real becomes a kind of miracle. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of awareness is infinitely improbable. We are ordered beings in a universe that prefers disorder. Against all odds, consciousness endures. Maybe that's why the Boltzmann brain idea, as unsettling as it is, also feels strangely beautiful. It's a reminder of how fragile awareness is and how precious it must be. Even if the odds are impossible, here you are, listening, thinking, feeling. You are the universe briefly aware of itself. And if that awareness is temporary, if it fades one day into the same quiet nothing it came from, does that make it less real? Or does it make every second more meaningful? Boltzmann's brain was just a thought experiment, a way to push physics to its philosophical limits. But it also revealed something about us. Our endless hunger to understand the world, to find meaning in the chaos, to ask questions even when the answers might shake the ground beneath us. So maybe you're not a brain in a void. Maybe you're something rarer, a conscious being capable of wonder, living in a universe that allows you to ask impossible questions and feel awe at the answers. And maybe that's what reality truly is. Not just matter and math, but the quiet awareness of being here now, alive in the mystery. Because whether you're flesh and bone or a flicker in the cosmic dark, the fact that you can ask who you are means you already exist in the most profound way. And that, in the end, is something even a Boltzmann brain could never fake.